You wanna
Night of the Seven Kingdoms video.
go out there, get a
Night of the Seven Kingdoms video.
I just want
Night of the Seven Kingdoms video. Night of the Seven Kingdoms is back with episode 5, and I seem to say this every week, but I think this might be my favourite episode yet. For one, we get a really satisfying battle that is exactly how I would want it. Grimy and muddy, and none of this over-the-top cleanness with clear shots of people spinning and twirling their swords that you get in a lot of different shows. No, this is something brutal and sluggish and carried out amidst a heavy fog where we don't see half of what's going on. Dunk barely registers half of what's happening in front of him. Not only does this fight perfectly undercut how this was all supposed to be a nice little birthday event for Gwyn Ashford and a chance for the Crown to do a bit of PR, as all of this instead descends into ugly chaos. Not only does it give us a much better sense of Dunk's own feelings, I really like the decision to make a lot of this kind of his point of view, but also this is what a lot of medieval combat did look like. It often would divulge into grappling and fighting in the dirt. And also we've got two distinct fighting styles between Arion and Dunk that I think tell us a lot about their characters, as we will discuss soon. And also there was such a massive build up to this event last episode. I was really excited for this Trial of the Seven, like this was going to be something really epic, and then it's just ugly and murky and ends with total tragedy. I love that so much. I mean, I don't enjoy the tragic event, but I think it's really good for the show, you know? Which is the second great thing about this episode, obviously, the tragedy. And the third is how thematically succinct this entire episode is when you really zoom out and you look at it as a whole. I think they've done a really, really good job there, so we're going to discuss all of that now after I show you the much beloved, very cool train. Okay, firstly, let's just touch on the ending really quickly. I deliberately waited until after the intro to mention the spoiler. The spoiler you may not want to hear if you haven't seen the episode yet. The spoiler I am going to say now. Baelor dies. Again, I don't know how shocking a twist this was because someone spoiled it for me in the comments a few videos ago. Arion really would shit the bed, not only would yield against Dunk, but also cause the death of his uncle. Redacted comments spoiling something else. Like the creator of this video politely requested, please mark your comment as a spoiler. Please don't ruin the story for others, thank you. The book and the comic have over 15 years. How is that a spoiler? That is like saying not give a spoiler for the original Nosferatu. Redacted spoiler for Nosferatu. I mean, this did at least give me a good laugh, I won't lie. The idea if something has been out a long time, spoilers can't possibly occur. Like, obviously, all of you watching this, obviously you all know what happens at the end of Oliver Twist, right? It's been out almost 200 years. Obviously, you all know what happens to Nancy, you know what happens to Fagin in the end. Yeah, so Baelor's death didn't shock me, but I thought it was still brilliantly executed, pun somewhat intended. Wonderfully acted, slowly realising how numb Baelor sounds, sensing there's going to be something wrong with the helmet. I think that's really, it's just a great sense of suspense building up there, and just for such a good man to die so pointlessly and without any glory or purpose, just tragedy. Because this whole trial was a complete farce, really. It should never have happened, save not for one man's pride that was wounded by the end of this anyway. And knowing George R.R. Martin, this will have profound, catastrophic consequences on Westeros. I'm fairly certain of that. Not to mention Dunk, who is left here feeling like this is his fault. I suspect survivor's guilt will hit him in the next episode. I suspect he will feel sickened by the politics of the highborn world, and I hope that sickness doesn't push him into cynicism, because cynicism is a force all good people in a troubled world have to contend with, and the world's only becomes more troubled when it takes hold. I imagine that may be a tension we see playing out next episode, but I think that's a better discussion to have next episode. So why don't we really get into the heart of episode 5? What's so effective about it? What the deeper thematic power really is? Cheddar! Cheddar! Get 51% off World Anvil! World Anvil! Yep, they are sponsoring this video. World Anvil is an online tool for game masters, for writers, for tabletop RPG players and world builders. An online tool for designing worlds, creating characters, chronicling history, planning and managing campaigns from a plethora of different games. My best friend uses it for our D&D campaign, I use it for planning my novel. Far better and easier than the scraps of random A4 paper stuffed into a drawer that used to constitute my creative process. Not only can I keep everything in one place where I can easily edit anything I want to, but I can create timelines, hyperlinks branching off to specific characters or articles, family trees, a billion other things. You can even link them all to maps, like here's this basic map I made years ago. If I click on the character Tess, it sends me straight to her page where everything is redacted, and that's like the most basic thing you can do with your maps. There's other creators whose world building looks so much nicer than mine. There's a whole community network on World Anvil if that's your thing. There's so many different cool features for everything you may possibly need. In general, there's been lots of great updates recently, making the interface even simpler and smoother than it already was. World Anvil is great. I am genuinely passionate. I hope you can hear that. And if you desire, if you crave, if you call to the heavens for a 51% discount, then use the code TREE, or click the link in the description or the pinned comment. And if you just want to try out the free version, then go for it. There's no time limit. Test it out for as long as you want. World Anvil. So, the episode is titled In the Name of the Mother. The Mother, of course, being one of the seven from the Faith of the Seven, the dominant religion in Westeros. The Trial of the Seven is linked to the Faith of the Seven, and we open the episode with our gang arranged somewhat like the Seven, though I don't know who represents who in that kind of idea. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Dunk represents the Mother, as it is he who ultimately shows Aerion mercy when he may have killed him. It is the Mother people pray to for the idea of mercy. It is in the name of the Mother that we see Sir Arlan fight to defend a young Dunk.
In the name of the mother! Leave that boy be!
Never before have I seen someone so drunk be so heroic. Now, the word mother comes up a lot in this episode, and for a very good reason. Our first mention is the slightly baffling thing Lionel Baratheon says to Prince Baelor after he's given his team pep talk.
Mother loved you best, huh? Shame. No man fights so fierce as one neglected by his mother.
I'm not entirely sure if this is mockery or a warning. Obviously, it's foreshadowing that Maekar will kill Baelor in this fight, but I think his point is those who are neglected have a fiercer, perhaps more envious and resentful side that spurs them to fight harder and nastier. And on the one hand, this could reflect Maekar and Aerion this episode, although we don't see Maekar fight. Aerion is quite nasty, I suppose. Aerion is absolutely trying to kill Dunk, where Dunk is just trying to make him yield. Dunk, slams him against the ground, where Aerion stabs him with a dagger. Aerion stabs him while he's trying to get up and his back is turned. Aerion throws his sword into Dunk's leg. So I think we could interpret Lionel's comments that way, and I think we should probably actually, but I also think there's another way of seeing it too, because we cut to a flashback with young Dunk picking the battlefield after the Blackfire Rebellion has been squashed, and he finds this dying knight who can't get up and is pleading for his mother. Now, I suspect a lot of people might hate this long flashback scene because it delays the fun action we've all been waiting for, but I wholeheartedly disagree. I think all of this is really, really important. I think it's a perfect moment to step back from the story and explore a little almost myth of its own that highlights the internal growth we see rise up in Dunk as we return to the action. It makes the return to this action so much more impactful, Dunk's victory so much more cathartic, and I personally have zero problems with the pace of this. And then later in the episode, when Rafe here talks of her and Dunk moving away to the Free Cities, Dunk is reluctant to go in case his mother comes back for him, in case she's actually alive and she comes looking, despite how unlikely and hopeless that would probably be.
If I leave, then how will she find me?
And so in some senses, Dunk would be like this knight dying beneath his horse, pleading for his mother to save him. He would remain stuck in a place that's terrible, vaguely hoping she can come and save him.
If your mother was alive, she's not coming back for you.
You don't know that.
I know. I never got nothing by waiting around.
Rafe is effectively saying you will never know your mother, Dunk. No one will come and scoop you up as their child. You are not highborn with a surname, you have no greater value in this world, and you can expect nothing at all to be given to you. Everything you ever get, you will have to fight for tooth and nail.
You want a family? Go out there, get a family.
And whilst Dunk doesn't get to leave to the Free Cities and doesn't get a life with Rafe at all, he does leave Flea Bottom and King's Landing altogether because Rafe is half right. She's wrong in the sense there are good people out there. There are those who might come to you, as Sir Arlen suddenly bursts through a door shouting in the name of the mother. Baelor rallies to Dunk's defence. It's important we do see examples of that, but at the same time, you can't just wait around for it. Nor can you give in. You have to lift a metaphorical dead horse from your own body. You have to get up.
Get up.
You have to go and get your own family. While Sir Arlen saves Dunk's life, yes, he then leaves immediately without even saying a word to him. It's Dunk who tirelessly, persistently follows Sir Arlen across the land, even when he's starving and sick and cold. That's fight. That's grit, effectively. Like Sir Lionel suggests, Dunk was, well, not exactly neglected by his mother, but he never knew her, and he fights with a ferocity that no one else shows here. He takes so many hits and stab wounds. He grabs a dagger, he pulls it out of his hand, he is pushed to the very brink of death, and yet he does not call out for his mother this time. He does not give in. He gets up. Everything he has ever been afforded he had to fight for, and now he has to fight to preserve it. Whereas Arion, okay, I have no idea what his relationship was like with his mother. Egg's comment in episode 1 suggests she's dead, but I don't know when. I'm assuming Arion wasn't her favourite because, well, he's Arion. But even if he, like Dunk, never knew his mother, it's still not quite the same thing as Dunk's situation, because Arion would still have known about her, been told about her, met other people from her family, and he still has a whole host of servants and whatever the word is I'm forgetting, the people who help raise the children. Arion would have still had all of that and had a whole life of luxury, and never had to claw his way to survival. So sure, maybe Lionel's flimsy theory is correct and it makes Arion a nastier and more of a cheat in his fighting, but he won't have the resolve Dunk had because he's never truly had to fight for his life to the extent that if you die, no one will remember you, no one will come and try to pull the horse from your body. Even when Arion does fall, we hear Maekar calling out for him. I find that really fun when you think about it. Lionel reckons Maekar and possibly Arion has an advantage in the fight because they were less loved by their mother, and here's Dunk who never knew his mother at all, never had anything. Like, you think that's resolve? You think that's grit? None of you know what it's like to be common born. I really like in that sense that this episode, kind of in Dunk's victory, is celebrating a strength he can only get from being common born. That it's his roots then that bleed into his heroism. And yeah, so Arion yields. He doesn't fight on when he reaches the brink in the same way. He gives in and he pleads for mercy, for the mother. And Dunk, who never knew his mother, and if we are running by Lionel's logic, has every right to be just as nasty, who also has every legal opportunity to kill Arion here, every reason he might want to, still shows mercy. And I think it tells us two things. One is that people can rise above their own experiences. I've often said one of my favourite lines of the A Song of Ice and Fire books is Sansa threatened by a brutal Sandor Clegane to sing her a song, this troubled man who has done so many cruel things and has no belief in the world. Sansa sings of the mother, sings teach us all a kinder way. And where Sandor Clegane has often mocked this kind of attitude as naive and foolish, he now breaks down. He cries, he slinks away, and the next we possibly see of him, he has become a humble man digging graves for those who need burial, living a peaceful life on the quiet isle. We can learn a kinder way. We can be more than our experiences, as Dunk is more than his upbringing. Sir Arlen, in many ways, very literally teaches him a kinder way. There is something poignant about a man who never knew his mother offering another the gift that the mother represents. Or at least it's poignant if we link those two different ideas of the mother together, what it means in religion and what it means in family. But secondly, it tells us a knight requires both traits. That the mother alone isn't enough. Many will mistake it for weakness, will take advantage of kindness, will actively seek to shoot it down. Arion, for example, has no care whether Dunk is a good man or not. So you do also need the warrior. Many times in life, compassion and kindness require a fight to defend them. And I say that even as a children's therapist. I mean, even in my very non-violent, empathetic world, even then there are plenty of times when the system itself is letting a child down, for example, and I have to absolutely fight on their behalf to make sure they are heard. There are times even I have to be a bit fierce, even if it's never to my clients. And I think we know politically, goodness, however you interpret that word, can often require a fight, be that repelling invaders invaders or resisting tyrants. Each of these traits on their own is not enough. Dunk displays the brutality of the warrior and the gentleness of the mother, the strength and the empathy. As we know, the faith of the seven isn't 7 individual deities, but like with most mythologies, 7 aspects of a greater deity and 7 aspects within a person and 7 aspects within the world. So maybe we could be exploring the other 5 aspects within Dunk too. I forget what they are, to be honest, and I think I've already made my point anyway. Dunk has to get up, effectively. He has to fight tooth and nail for goodness as a whole, because he can't just bank on the gods passing divine judgment as is supposed to happen in a trial by 7. We know this is not the case because Baelor is killed. This is not justice bestowed from above. It is something these people themselves must fight to uphold. Truth and honour and goodness. Anyway, a few quick final thoughts before we finish. I find it sweet how Tanzel and Rafe look pretty similar, but it makes me feel for Dunk twice over that he's basically lost the girl he loves due to someone of greater social standing being unnecessarily cruel. Twice life has done this to him and he still hasn't fallen into resentment. We could even say chooses to spare Aerion's life rather than biting into his neck. Whilst I of course haven't read The Hedge Knight, I said I was deliberately going to wait and read the book after this season is done in order that I can judge it on its own merits. Whilst that is the case, I did get a few comments suggesting a beloved scene from the last episode was cut, which was before Dunk's trial. People basically cheer him on in the books and let him know he had their support. How could they cut the "a knight who remembers his vows" scene? It's the whole theme of the story. I can't find a comment that explained that scene to me in more detail. There was one somewhere, but you can loosely infer what must happen from that mention alone. And I reckon when I read the book, I will end up agreeing with this. I reckon I'll think, damn, this is a great moment. I wish they hadn't cut it. It's so thematically on point. But at the same time, I did want to argue the opposite perspective. For one, it would have absolutely killed the tension they were building in episode 4. Dunk felt like he was going to his death. He was frozen in fear at the beginning of this episode. I think placing huge emphasis on the support he's afforded from the common people would kind of undercut that point then. And secondly, the whole point of thematic and narrative climax in this episode was Dunk getting up, Dunk having to get up. And I think that is a fitting moment to discover the crowd are on his side and not on Aerion's, hearing them all chant and cheer for Dunk to get up. To realise they're on his side at the very darkest moment, and for Aerion to realise with a level of shock, he's actually the villain here. I think that's great. I think it's really, really effective. Holding back on a lot of the crowd supports until now allows Dunk rising to his feet to be as cathartic and climactic and impactful as it could possibly be. And then obviously you can't really slip in a knight who remembers their vows after the fight because Dunk is in agonising pain here and the focus is, as it should be, on Baelor's death. So, you know, there is a loss. I think most changes in general have a loss and a gain to them. We're denied a nice little punch that would make the theme of this story really clear, although I do think there are other ways they make it clear anyway, and there are instead other aspects and theme they get to highlight. So, you know, I don't know if this is better than the book version or not, but TV is a different medium, and even in adaptations that are determined to be as faithful to the books as possible, there are always still things you have to do differently due to the ways the different mediums function. I think TV has a stronger emphasis on building atmosphere and tension that you can kind of work around in books much easier. So yeah, at least until I do read the book and likely change my mind, I think it's worth me making that argument here. I like the way they do this in the show, and I think just dropping that scene in from the books could have disrupted a lot of what works. But let me know what you think. Comment your thoughts on this episode as a whole, good or bad. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe, maybe support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee, or watch my big psychological character analysis on Theon Greyjoy. I put so much work into that one, but otherwise, hopefully see you next time. And as ever, a special thank you goes to Flying Spider, Luke Hoare, Michael Gallagher, Ben Marie, Thafy, Chad Bramwell and Joshua C. Follier. Thank you.